Alright guys, today I'm in Lakeland Square Mall. I'm getting my car worked on at an auto shop not attached to this mall, kind of a ways away. Not even half a mile, but I had to walk over here. It's blistering hot out today. I mean, it says it's only 85 degrees, humidity of 75%, but it feels way heavier than that. And so I figured a good place to come would be the mall. At least I can walk around, be in someplace cool. So I just got some lunch from a place called Lee Cafe over there. I don't know if you probably can't see it. They don't have their lights on. I mean, their sign on. It's not lit up. So everybody else is, but they're not. Anyway, they let me try to sample their food. They seem to have the best prices for in here. There's a grilled cheese, a place called Planet Grilled Cheese right next to it. And that looked really good, but their prices were exorbitant. I mean, if I was going to pay those kind of prices, I'd go to Chili's or something. But, yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd go to Chili's. But anyway, I'm trying to arrange myself here. Yeah, so I got some bourbon chicken and some spicy chicken. I got a 2-meat entree. They have a lot of different places here, but the thing about this mall is it's just a shadow of what it used to be. It's quite a shame. I mean, this used to be the place to come to when it was first built. It was built in 1988. Yeah, it used to be a really nice place and have these great restaurants. I'm gonna try this food here and see if it's any good. It's bourbon chicken first. It's good. It's not the best I've had. Not the best I've had. It's a little different. It's cut different too. Let's try the spicy chicken. That's interesting. It's good. Still not the best I had. It has somewhat of a curry taste to it, which I don't mind, but I don't have that very often. And then I got these noodles. I like that lo mein. What's funny is that it's like a Chinese restaurant, or it looks like it. Like that's a lot of what there is around here is Chinese food, and in these malls, you know, where these malls are dying, and in the food courts you have a lot of these pop-up Chinese restaurants. But it says Lee Cafe, and the people working back there, I think, were Mexican. Odd combination. I'll tell you, it's better than Panda Express. I tried Panda Express for the first time a couple months ago. Everybody talks about it. I eat Chinese food at least once a week, but I'd never had it from there before. And I was really disappointed. It was overpriced and the food was not that good. This is better than Panda Express. If I had to choose between the two, that's what I'd do. And then I got this cabbage. I love cabbage, like this. That's really good. Yeah. So this mall opened in 1988, and look around at it. This place used to be pristine. I think I was here on opening day. I was 18 years old, and it was so packed, and it stayed packed for several years. Like, you come here every week, packed. It was a really, really nice mall. I think it was owned by DeBartolo. I mean, there's more to that title than just DeBartolo. I think it was DeBartolo. I think that's the name. If I'm not mistaken, they owned a whole bunch of malls. But malls are dying, man. They're dying on the vine. Most, I think, I'm going to guess at this first number, but I read that back in the 80s and 90s, there was like 2,500 malls nationwide, and there's only 700 left standing. Well, 700 left open. That is, I say it's crazy, but you don't find very many nice malls. Now, I made a video of the Florida Mall over in Orlando. They've kept that one up pretty well. And the Millennium Mall in Orlando, which is really nice. That's like for rich people. I actually made a video of that, and I never uploaded it because I'd have to do too much editing to it because of all the music that they play. So anyway, it was such a nice mall. This mall was back in the day, but now you come into it and there's all these no-name or generic named stores that you never heard of that probably the mall owns, and they're just trying to keep units open. And you can tell they're just struggling to survive. And if you go into a lot of these places, it's like walking into a post-apocalyptic mall. All the zombies have been killed off, and now people are trying to, regather themselves, recoup their life, and they'll sell anything. Like, here's a box of toenail clippings. Surely you have use for this, right? But, I mean, some of the stuff that you see in these stores, even the name brand stores, like the big name brands, even they're compromised. They're not even like they used to be. And a lot of it is attributed to online buying, Amazon and things like that. I get it. Listen, I wish malls could make a comeback. Now we have these open air malls. We have one down South Lakeland called Lakeside Village. It's pretty nice. It's an open air mall. I suspect the same kind of thing will happen to them eventually, but it's a shame. It's a shame you can't have both. You can't have these nice malls and online shopping, because these are good places they were good places to come to. I mean, back when I was 18 years old, coming to the mall it was all about seeing and being seen and scoping out girls, asking out girls. It was great. I mean, it was great. I mean, for me, it was a place to come to. That was where your social life was. I met a lot of girls in these places, but it's too bad that someplace so nice could be, could kind of go the way of the dodo bird. So, you look around this food court, and it used to be, it's still pretty busy in here, but the atmosphere is completely different. Like, even the lighting, there's, are they on a budget or something for utilities? You got this, mainly the only light you have in here is coming from the restaurants themselves. It's emitting out from the restaurants and from the skylights. It's not good lighting. It's kind of depressing. Yeah, I'm serious when I say it feels almost post-apocalyptic. People are just getting their lives back now, after the hordes have been killed off. And this is what we got. This is all we got. Now over here across the way, and when you would first come into the mall, it used to be a place there called Buddy's Buns. And they used to sell these massive cinnamon buns. You get the ones with the that were with the icing on it, and I think others with they had two different kinds. I think. Anyway, I can't remember. But I only got the one kind with the vanilla icing on it, but they were huge cinnamon buns. And you ask for more icing, he just slathered on there. More icing than you've ever seen in any Cinnabon. I mean, it spoiled me because now I can't eat at Cinnabon. But that was 35 years ago. And I still remember what they taste like. They're great. I looked it up last night to see if maybe by some chance if he had moved his business to like in-home or to a different location. Can't find him anywhere. Nowhere. There's nothing to look at here. That's the way a lot of them are. There's like one cool place here called Urban Adventure. I don't know, something like that. It's like a place where you can do a lot of physical activity like trampolines and rock climbing, wall climbing, whatever the case might be. Pretty cool place. And there's a big theater attached to this place. But I don't ever go to the theater anymore. I won't pay their prices. Just won't do it. I would if the movies were good, but they're not. They're terrible anymore. I used to go to the theater all the time in my 20s. I mean, constantly. My late teens, early 20s, all the time. Usually by myself. No, I don't do the theater anymore. I'm always disappointed when I do go, for a lot of reasons. But anyway, so yeah, Buddy's Buns used to be over there. That was fantastic, man. That was just the best. I really miss that place. And they had the it's still over there. I was gonna say Great American Cookie Company. It's still over there. Good grief! I used to get those. What do they call those? Double doozies? I don't know if that's what they call them anymore, but anyway, they had the two big chocolate chip cookies or M&M cookies, whatever, with that icing slathered in the middle. And I'd get one every time I came and make myself sick. I still might do it. I'm gonna have to see the happening. I see they have added one television over here. I think they have a Gators game on. No, that's not what that is. Is it Clemson or Tennessee? Can't tell from here. It's too far away. Yeah. There used to be, when this mall first opened, they had a Maison Blanche here. I don't know if Maison Blanche replaced somebody else, but anyway, early on there was a store called Maison Blanche, and they had, like after they had first opened, they had a piano inside as, I guess, something to look at. I don't know. I played the piano a lot back then, so one day I went in there and I sat down this white baby grand piano and started playing for everybody walking by. And this one older, dapper gentleman who looked really important kind of stood away, and he kind of just like kept looking at me playing the piano, and I felt a little intimidated. I thought he looked important, so I stopped. He says, no, keep on going. I really like it. And he turned out to be the owner of Maison Blanche. That was neat. And then they always had these activities, shows going on here, and all sorts of ways to kind of get you interested in the stores nearby. And they have these pianos in the open air, like over in jewelry stores, outside jewelry stores, or in different parts of the mall. These little extremities of the mall. And if they had a piano out, I was always playing. Every chance I got. It's Auntie Anne's over there. I'm not going to walk through the mall with the camera. There's just really nothing to see. So, because this was built in 1988, or opened in 1988, I looked up what was going on in 1988, because it seemed like such a great time. I mean, it really wasn't. In our memories, we have everything on a highlight reel, you know, and really the past wasn't as great as we sometimes want to remember. But it really made me think, what was going on in 1988? How well do I remember? So take this little journey with me down the road here, and I'll tell you what was going on, what some of the popular things were. Let me show you. This is from a site called hobbylark.com. And I'm trying to get to the main part of this. Okay, let me start from the beginning. In 1988, there we go. Top news stories and history events that happened in that year. All right. Vice President George H.W. Bush was elected U.S. President by defeating Michael Dukakis. I remember that. I mean, I couldn't have told you that was the year. Let me hit the highlights here. First Walmart Supercenter opened in Washington, Missouri. I had no idea. Back in the year 1988, popular baby names were Joshua and Jennifer. Fashion trends included blue eyeshadow and leg warmers. I'm surprised that leg warmers were still a thing back then. And Cool Ranch Doritos, which I still love. Cool Ranch Doritos and pasta salad were all the rage. Microsoft sold its 1 millionth mouse, and McDonald's opened its 10,000th restaurant. A big screen television cost about $3,000. That's a lot of money back then. $3,000, that's huge. 98% of U.S. households had at least one television set. The Last Emperor won 9 Academy Awards. The Cosby Show is the most popular TV series. Rain Man was the highest grossing film. That is one of my favorite movies. If you've never seen Rain Man, to me it was a powerful movie. I wonder what I would think of it if I watched it now. It had Tom Cruise, Dustin Hoffman in it. The news magazine 48 Hours premiered on CBS. The Phantom of the Opera opened on Broadway. Rush Limbaugh began his conservative talk radio show. What's funny about that is I was working part-time. I had 2 part-time jobs, one at McDonald's and one at a donut shop right next door to it. It was open 24 hours, and I'd work the graveyard shift. And Rush Limbaugh was on during that time, and the reason I know that is because the baker had it on the whole time. That's how I found out about Rush Limbaugh. And we'd be working back there listening to him the whole night. I enjoyed that. A lot. The Washington Redskins won the Super Bowl. The LA Dodgers won the World Series. The Edmonton Oilers clinched the Stanley Cup. During the year 1988, MLB legend Cal Ripken Jr. played his 1,000th consecutive game. Listen, I remember that very clearly for several reasons. I'm not a baseball fan, but that was talked about so much. And he was really quite an influence in that way for young men to stick to something, to show up and do the work. It was so impressive and very inspiring. The other reason why I remember it so much is because I was, well, a couple years later, I was working for a pest control company, and the owner of that, it was just a 2-man operation, him and I. He was the brother-in-law of Cal Ripken Jr. And he used to tell me all about going and visiting his family. Well, this guy was kind of a jerk, and he was just a jerk to work for, man. I tell you what, he developed a disdain for me, and looking back now, I realize what he wanted to do. He wanted to fire me, but he wanted to do some physical harm to me. he did that. So he agitated me to the point of me asking, like, why are you talking to me like this? We were at an account on someone's property, out in the road. And he says, you better leave before I beat you up. And I was like, well, you want some? Come get some. And he made a bad decision. He tried to do that. Yeah, he left pretty humiliated that day. I walked back to my vehicle. I had to actually hitch a ride. Let me see. What else went on in 1988? The lights went on for the first time at Chicago's Wrigley Field, which had been the only MLB park up until then where night games were not played. It's the first time I've heard of that. Inflation was 4.7%, and a new Buick Skylark cost $11,306. A gallon of milk cost $2.30. A loaf of white bread was 60 cents, and a dozen eggs were 89 cents. So apparently the five most popular TV shows were The Cosby Show, A Different World, Cheers, The Golden Girls, and Growing Pains. None of which I watched regularly. I might catch an episode every now and then. The only one of those I really liked was Cheers. Maybe The Cosby Show a little bit. But my wife loved The Golden Girls. And of course, Growing Pains. That's what made Kirk Cameron so popular. And then I'm going to skip the popular foods. I mean, who cares about that anyway when you're looking back? So, yeah, they give you a rundown on this hobbylark.com. They give you a rundown of what the popular foods of that year cost. So, I'm just trying to find something that would be interesting. I almost need my reading glasses for this. Let me do that. There we go. That's better. I'm not having to strain so much. A median household income was $27,225, and the cost of a new home was $138,300. Boy, times have changed, right? And times have changed drastically just within the last 2 years. You can thank your administration for that. It says the federal minimum wage was $3.35. What's weird about that is I remember it being $4.25 because that's what I was making, I think, even before 1988. So I don't know where they're getting that number from. And I don't think $4.25 is with a raise. Let's find some stuff that might be a little more interesting. Talking about temperatures here, landmarks, international news events. In 1988, the Winter Olympics took place in Calgary, Canada, from February 13th to the 28th. All right. What else? Sports facts and trivia. So, I already mentioned a couple of them. You know, I mentioned about the Washington Redskins winning the Super Bowl back in '88, which I wish they'd bring that name back, the Redskins. There's a very large, there's a very large population of Native American Indians that are petitioning to get that back. So, the NBA champions in 1988 were the LA Lakers. Stanley Cup was, well, I already told you about the Stanley Cup, Edmonton Oilers. U.S. Open golf, Curtis Strange. Oh, remember this? On May 2nd, Cincinnati Reds manager Pete Rose was suspended for 30 days following a volatile dispute fire. You know, when I first started reading that, I thought I was going to talk about his gambling issue. That's not what it was. The cost of a 30-second Super Bowl ad was $645,000. That really surprises me. All right. Let's go. I'm looking for things that are a little more memorable, maybe. It says the price of a movie ticket was $4.11. I don't remember that being that low. On October 18th, the TV comedy Roseanne, starring Roseanne Barr and John Goodman, premiered on ABC. Honestly, I don't know when I thought that came out. I would not have figured 1988. Let's see. We got technology news. Nobel Prize winners. Best-selling books. One of them, number 8, is The Alchemist. Great book to read if you've never read it, by Paul Coelho. We have 2 versions of that at my house. Who's the Boss is still playing on TV. Night Court, Murder, She Wrote. Didn't like any of those. Oh, so let's go back to films. The 10 highest grossing films. I already mentioned Rain Man. That came in as number 1. The second one was Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Man, I remember going to the theater. I went to the theater to see Rain Man also. But Who Framed Roger Rabbit, man, that was like amazing to watch on the screen during that time. Of course, Coming to America, then there was Big. Big was a good movie. Twins, that was entertaining. Crocodile Dundee 2, I didn't see that. Die Hard came out that year. Naked Gun, the Naked Gun. Oh, man. Yes, I went and saw that in theater a couple times. I laughed so hard at that movie. Then Cocktail. I never saw the whole movie. Beetlejuice, watched it many times. Horror movies from that year. I'm not a big horror movie fan, but my wife might like that. Child's Play, Pumpkinhead, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, Night of the Demons, Waxwork, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read all of them. So the popular music artists from 1988 are Anita Baker, Billy Ocean, Bobby McFerrin, Breathe, Cheap Trick, Sherelle, Chicago. Chicago, man. Chicago's great. I've listened to so much Chicago. I love them. Debbie Gibson, Elton John, George Harrison, George Michael. Mentioned him in my last video about the monkey. Gloria Estefan, Karen White, Keith Sweat, Luther Vandross, the Miami Sound Machine. Oh, Phil Collins is number 21 on here. I like everything Phil Collins has done. Of course, Rick Astley, Prince, Sade, things like that. Yeah. So Faith was number 1. George Michael's Faith was number 1. All right, well, my camera stopped recording. It said low SD card speed. I tried to make more room on it, so hopefully we'll get more out of it. But I shouldn't have to continue for long here. I'm just trying to take a trip down the 1988 road here and see if any of these things strike a chord. Burt Reynolds and Lonnie Anderson. Let's see, they got married in 1988. Burt Reynolds came to Lakeland several years later, and he had a book that had come out, and I wanted to go see him just because I wanted to see Burt Reynolds in person. And the place was packed, and I went in there, and there's all these beautiful women kind of walking around. I figured, they just want to see who Burt Reynolds is, see if they hook up with him. This guy approached me, and apparently he was in charge of all those women, and asked me if I wanted to be an escort to, essentially older women. And older women in his mind were, women like in their 40s, 50s. As a very young man at the time, I was like, no. I mean, ask me now, maybe. No, but that's true. That really did happen. And Tom Hanks married Rita Wilson. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of things that happen. I guess Robin Williams divorced his wife, Valerie Velarde, back then, or parted ways with her. That's what it says. Retail. This is what might be interesting. Retailers and brands from 1988 no longer exist. A&P grocery store, right? A&P grocery store. I don't know that I ever went into one. B. Dalton bookstore. Bookstores are dying out too, except for Books A Million. Valley Fitness, Blockbuster Video. I mean, you can make a whole entire video about Blockbuster. I still miss that. Borders. I think Borders is, is Borders, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, but I thought Borders was still around. Chi-Chi's restaurant. Circuit City. I remember when they went out. Of course, Woolworth. I thought that was a long time ago. Jordache. Does anybody miss Jordache? Maybe on women, but Mervyn's. Mervyn's was a good store. They used to have a Mervyn's in this mall. Radio Shack, Sharper Image. They're not saying these stores went out of business in 1988. They're just saying that they no longer exist. I mean, they were a thing back then, but they no longer exist now. Toys R Us. I remember when Toys R Us went away, and that was like a very slow death, agonizing death to watch. Wet Seal. Yeah. So, 1988 seemed like a wonderful time, those years, but they probably weren't as great as I remember. I mean, being that young, you struggle a lot. You're insecure. You don't think you are, but you are. You don't have a clue about the world. At least I didn't. That's what 1988 represents for me. And my mind was mostly on girls back then. And being too broke to ask anybody out. It's one thing to attract a young woman. It's another thing to have the money to be able to take her out on a date. So, yeah. Thank goodness things change. But it's kind of a shame to see the malls in general, just kind of die. All the open air ones are taking their place, and certainly as far as purchases are concerned, Amazon in their place. Big box stores like Walmart have squeezed them out with the prices. And I always kind of wondered for the longest time if malls were just nothing more than a money laundering scheme, but probably not. They just had their time. And this is not it anymore. But I miss those days. I wish they could come back. I wish you could restore that same kind of thing. But I don't think you can. Hopefully something better will come along. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. Thanks for joining me for lunch at the mall and reminiscing about or thinking about 1988 and what was going on during that time. I hope it was at least somewhat interesting. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to finish my lunch here. I didn't want to eat the whole entire time and make you listen to me. So I'm going to let you go now, and I'm going to finish up here and hope that my car is done getting worked on in the meantime. All right. Have a great one. I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye. So on an end note, I did go by Great American Cookie Company and checked out their double doozies. Yes, that's what they're called. They're $4.75 a piece. So no, I won't be doing that anymore. They used to make me sick because of too much sugar. Now it just make me sick because of the price. All right, guys, that's really the end of this video. I'm out.